Welcome back.
To the In Your Mind podcast. How's it going?
Are you asking me or them?
You. And you. Both.
It's not really centered, is it? That's a bit better. How's everyone doing? We're doing good.
Doing good, doing well.
Fluff on my microphone.
40 degrees today.
Well, not yet. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Top of 40.
Top of the morning to you laddies.
the
My
morning.
name's Jacksepticeye. Yeah. So what do you got there?
Well, I was thinking to gain some inspiration and to see what's kind of on our minds and what comes from it. I was thinking we would go through the Oracle deck.
What's an oracle deck?
It's kind of like tarot, but it's not as ordered and it's not as specific. So I view an Oracle deck as like you ask questions or you can pose like timelines and things and see what it says. But I kind of use it to go within myself and see what comes up when something is shown.
Yeah. Dig into the subconscious.
Yeah, it's helpful because it will give you a bit like of a cue to go, oh, okay, that's what I thought of when this came up. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And for those who want to play along on YouTube, we're going to show the cards. If you're on audio, we'll try and describe what it is.
Draw a card.
The High Priestess. Secrets, dreams, wisdom, inner voice, spirit world. It's kind of cool.
What does that make you think of?
It looks like that, what's that Mexican
Day of the
festival?
Dead?
Yeah, Day of the Dead.
Third eye, inner voice, spirit. Seems very global.
She's quite isolated in space. And her eyes are very far apart.
Yeah, she does seem alone. But then she has a lot of things around her to try and keep her company. The whole colours of the rainbow.
A snake wrapped around her neck.
Secrets. I reckon that's like to do with the secrets. Dreams, wisdom, inner voice, spirit world. It's like the veil that's unknown.
Her eyes were bigger than her mouth.
Seeing is more important than talking. Or learning is.
You have to pay attention to see the secrets, gain wisdom. Oh, hello.
Oh, hello. Doggy on the mic. Should we do a question? So that kind of primed us. And now, with that, we'll pull a card from Diary of a CEO Conversation Cards. First edition. Empowering human connection. That's it.
Do you want to read it first?
What are you clear about now that 1 year ago you didn't know?
I don't really know. Because the last episode, or the one before that, talked about I don't really have that great a memory of...
Timelines.
Not timelines, but an accurate representation of what I was thinking or what I was like. If I was to guess, I think I'm much more clear on my goals and how I'm actually going to achieve them. And that how important the truth is in getting to the truth. And everything that you want is on the other side of the truth. Like, I think for a long time, I was just trying to do and say what I thought other people wanted or expected to hear. But when you do that, you don't really achieve anything. And I've kind of just realized quite recently, to the extent, like, you have to be fully committed to seeking the truth for yourself and then expressing it in the most authentic way. Like, there can't be any twisting or exaggeration or any sort of manipulation of it. Like, what you get, you have to put out. Otherwise, it's it's not going to land anywhere
Mm.
because you're making it up for someone who doesn't exist. But if you just give exactly what you got.
So, like, I feel like an example of that would be like the other day I was like, oh, how did the music go? And you were like, yeah, good. I've just been trying to like focus on saying things that are really true and not just filling in the gaps because I'm like, oh, I don't know what to say for these couple lines, whatever.
Yeah.
And instead of just going, oh, well, that kind of works and that kind of rhymes and like, yeah, that kind of fits there.
Sounds good.
Sounds good, yeah. Instead of doing that,
Yeah.
like, what is the actual truth of it?
Yeah.
Because music is stories and it's such emotion and so powerful. Like, it can be so powerful and real, you know, when you get the shivers and the shakes and goosebumps, and even sounds can do that to me. Like, usually, like, the emotion of a sound. It doesn't have to be even a lyric, but like something that's so raw and so felt.
And when I think about it, like, I remember, I forget when we were talking about it, but I think you asked me, like, who are the people that I like listening to and why is that?
Yeah.
Even, like, outside of music, just, like, in general, it's just, like, authenticity.
Yeah.
And saying what they think and being real.
Totally.
It's, like, the only thing people resonate with. And you don't do that and you wonder why things aren't working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And I feel that across like so much. Like, it's not just in music or just in expressing like creative stuff, but like even within life, like you don't make deep connections being someone who you're not.
Yeah.
Like, and the deepest connections have come when you okay, this is scary, but I'm just going to say it. I'm not sure how it's going to land and how it's going to be received, but usually it's received very well, and people, you can feel when someone's being honest to you, and there's
you might
always
not
a
even
reason.
know you feel it, but you still feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And a way that I've figured out how truthful I'm being, because sometimes like I can just go unconscious to it because it's something I've done for a long time. One thing I've kind of realized to figure out how truthful I'm being is like, how long does it last? Like, when I write something, it might be cool in the moment, but how long is it cool for? How long does it sound good for?
Yeah.
And usually the things that are most true last the longest. Like, the things people call classics, they're only classics because they're the truth. Like Jordan Peterson says, the truth isn't the truth because it's true now. It's the truth because it's true now. It's true a week from now. It's true a month from now. And it's true across all eternity.
I think it's hard to know though. Like, truth is such a... We've had battles about truth before. But truth, like, there is things that we go, oh yeah, that's how it is, because we trust, like, our pinnacle at the moment is science and technology, and we put our faith in that. And a lot of the time, like, until you don't, like, there's always still parts that are missing. Like, it might be true, but you might not know the extent of something as well. Like the solar system, and like, how do you know something's true when it's like the objective truth?
Well, really, it comes down to experience. Like, you just have to speak from experience because it's the only thing that you do have, that you do know.
So it's not necessarily facts or like knowledge that comes from like...
Truth and facts aren't the same thing. Yeah. I feel like people get that confused a lot.
Yeah.
Because like you said, facts and
Facts
science change.
Yeah. Change a lot.
Yeah.
Rapidly too.
And things you think are facts now
Yeah.
change tomorrow when you learn, like, understand new knowledge.
See, I think truth then, like, can be felt as a feeling. Like, if you know you're being truthful to yourself, how do you know you're being truthful to yourself? Because, like, it's a different feeling to when you're lying to yourself,
Yeah.
you know?
And then the question is, how do you know you're being truthful? Well, I think it's not about, actually, I think it's not about being truthful right now. It's always being in the pursuit of truth.
Yeah, the intention of the truth.
Always being open
Yeah.
and having the humility to know that you could be wrong, and you probably are. And not thinking that you know the truth already.
It's confusing.
Well, like, you can speak from your experience,
Yeah.
and that is your truth.
Yeah.
But the truth
Yeah.
is something different.
Totally.
It's still the truth because you experienced it, and that's what happened. That's your experience.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
But
it's not objective.
It's a different story from
somebody else's.
Yeah.
Totally. And I think, honestly, it helps to have that in the frame of your mind when, like, if I don't agree with something someone says, or like even a way someone's acting, and I'm like, oh, you know, like, that's not how I would act in that scenario. Well, you don't know what has gone into that, like, what has been fed to that person, or what have they consumed, or what kind of stories have they been told in order to think that. Like, if you truly knew all that, it would make logical sense, I think. But because we all have such different stories and are exposed to different things at different times, we create different opinions about things. And they're just based on our experience of the time and our emotions that we had towards those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we're too attached to our experience and our truth.
Yeah. As seeing it as the pinnacle.
As the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of connection can come about through knowing that your truth is shaped by your experience, and that another's isn't wrong because it's not yours. It's theirs, and it's truthful for them. And to respect that and go, yeah, that's true. And also this is true. Like, this is true for me, this is true for them. Okay, then there's a middle ground of actual truth in here.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing that you want to, like, go after. It's not like, is mine right, or is yours right, or is this part of mine right, and is this part of yours right? It's just like, here's mine, this is my section, this is your section. Where do they overlap?
Yeah.
And what does the overlap mean?
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
Yeah, but even with that, I think we're going to miss things. Like, I think just human error is a thing, and that we can't see all the things in play behind a decision. So we're never fully informed about another's perspective. So we never really truly see all of the overlapping things that we have between this person. So we're only getting a fraction of it.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's less true.
No, but there's more that goes into it.
Yeah.
Which can create a deeper understanding, and we might miss some of that some of the time.
Oh, yeah, it's inevitable. We're never going to catch everything.
Yeah. But just knowing that exists, I think, is like also humility, and being like, okay, this is what I can see. This is what the intermeeting truth is between us. But also, like, I'm not God. Like, I don't know everything either. So give some leeway of, like, there's some stuff I don't know.
Yeah, having humility.
Yeah. Mm.
What about you?
So coming back to the initial question, what are you clear about now that 1 year ago you didn't know? It's so hard because I don't know the exact space I was in. So I was in the beginning of second year of study. We just moved in together. I don't think I was as trusting, actually, of people in general, and more cautious about other people's motives. So I felt maybe less safe, slightly less safe in the world.
And what are you clear on?
That most of the time people aren't intentionally trying to hurt you or come after you. And it's not personal. Like, you can get hurt, but a lot of the time, yeah. I just think, like, people are more about themselves than what I thought. And it's kind of a little bit liberating because it's like, well, you could do all these things over here and nobody notices.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's paying so much attention to, like, every facet of your life and every decision that you make. And it kind of takes off, like, less pressure about the things that you do make. It's like, well, it's kind of your life, and the only person that has direct input and direct responsibility for it is you. And you're the only one who cares about it as much as you and has these emotions behind it and these goals.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And the thing of, like, it's just not as personal as I guess that I was kind of battling a little bit back then. It was like, yeah, people were just operating a lot of the time out of their own conditioning, what they're preoccupied with at the moment, like their thoughts, and that there's not enough room for you to be able to try and, like, sidestep all these different unconscious things that are happening within everybody all around you all the time. And even the conscious things, or the things that you're assuming. I think it's just more about being less in my head about other people and now more concretely focused on, like, what I want to do and what makes me happy and, like, what I enjoy and why I'm doing the things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Just more and more so those things are strengthening.
What turned it around?
Maybe just even exhaustion of, like, trying to be in other people's heads and, like, so much mental space capacity and energy of, like, oh, I'm creating all these assumptions based on what? Okay, based on these couple of things that happened. Like, how do you know any of that's true? And if it is, like,
So what?
so what? And you even if you did have the power to change it, do you want to do that for every single person your whole life? Not really. Like, this is an exhausting way to live, and something that I could do without. And more just going, okay, like, let's just trust. Like, if it was with you, even, it was like, it was a big step moving in together. And, like, I was a little bit like mostly felt secure and felt like I could talk to you. But I also had these doubts of, like, what happens if this doesn't work out and he tries to fuck me over and, like, all that. And then I'm like, okay, well, if that does happen, you could deal with it. But also, like, let's take, like, the benefit of the doubt and, like, not just go to all these negative extremes, because it's an extreme. So it's probably, like, that's not very probable. And it's a much happier, healthier, more enjoyable way to live if I'm not in that headspace. Let's just trust for a second. Let's ask. Let's just say how I feel to you and bring those things up. And, oh, okay, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
And just, you know, one after the other, just voicing certain things to you and then other people around me that I would have hesitated before saying. I found myself going, it's actually very liberating and feels super respectful of myself to say the things that I think, and builds greater connection. And yeah, I enjoy this more.
I think that's interesting because living in fear of what other people think is not really living. Would you agree?
If you're making your decisions based on that, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And to realize that what other people think really has no impact on your life until you choose to let it. and how that ties into seeking the truth. Like, your fear was squashed by seeking the truth, and your fear of finding out the truth, whether I was going to fuck you over or not, blocked you from living your life in the way that you want it to. And realizing that it doesn't matter what happens, I'm just going to live. I'll be okay. I'm still going to live the way I want to regardless. You just drop the fear. Like, it has no control anymore. I'm just going to do it anyway. And yeah.
Well, I just thought it's mentally exhausting now. Surely, like, if I'm going to be mentally exhausted now, what happens when something does happen? Like, I don't even, like, I'm in a state that's, like, spiraled.
Well, not even that. Like, you're just eternally shackling yourself for things that don't exist.
Yeah.
And then by doing that, you're increasing the likelihood that they do happen as well.
Why do you think so?
Well, it's like law of attraction and all those sorts of things. But also, like, if you expect your partner to cheat on you, you're going to start behaving like they already have. You're going to become distant. You're going to start being resentful.
Yeah.
Then the relationship's going to start to deteriorate.
Totally.
And then guess what? Well, they cheated. How could they do that? I knew all along.
Yeah.
And I think people, I'm probably going to get flamed for this, but like, anytime anything happens, there's fault on both sides, regardless of what it is.
I don't think you're going to get flamed for that. I think that's true. Like,
what was your contribution to them cheating? Like, the breakdown of the relationship was two-sided.
Totally. Yeah. And I
So-
think with anything, like, with anything happening, you have to take on, like, to fully resolve an issue, you have to take on the responsibility as solely your problem too. Because if you can't see, if you're just constantly putting blame on others for, oh, they treated me like this or they're doing this, then it's constantly not your fault and you're constantly finding reasons for how other people are out to get you. And
Well, you've been a victim.
yeah, but that is so limiting.
Yeah. And even if it was a small portion of what happened, like, maybe they did do most of the work. And maybe they did betray you, and maybe you didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
But there's always something you could have done. And everyone is flawed. And nothing can ever get better if you focus on what they did to you rather than what you can do to prevent it next time.
How you can change and grow from that scenario, because that's the only thing you have control over.
The only, yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. And then you can see things way more clearly because you can know, your thoughts a lot better than presuming or assuming someone else's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being like, okay, well, yeah, I can see over those couple months I started acting like this and lashing out and just not feeling comfortable to even talk to them about anything. And like, okay, well, yeah, how do I expect them to come and tell me that thing when they haven't told me anything about their life, Like, yeah.
Yeah. It's like that saying, and I forget which word exactly it was describing, but it's like when you hold a grudge, it's like holding the person prisoner. But when you let that person go and as you watch them run away, you realize it was you all along. Like, who are you really benefiting by?
Holding the grudge.
And blaming them.
Yeah.
Because
that's your mental
they're not
energy.
affected by it.
Well, they are, but in a way that you don't know. You could never know.
Yeah. So, like, you really only have one decision. You're just torturing yourself more and taking the long way by not taking responsibility. But it's easier said than done.
This is a bit of like a random question, but do you think you could be friends with anybody?
I could. Yes. Do I want to be?
How do you choose what friendships to cherish and what friendships to let go?
Do they make my life better? Yes or no?
So how does that look?
How do I feel when I'm around them? Do I feel better or worse? Yes or no? Is what I'm putting in more than what I'm getting out? Yes or no? And those questions are usually pretty simple to answer.
Mm.
Sometimes you just don't want to answer them.
Yeah.
Like, you know in your gut the answer when you ask the question.
Mm.
Sometimes you just don't want to. Yeah. And that's the tricky part. I don't think it's figuring out whether you want to or they're good for you. It's actually taking the leap to bridge the gap or cutting them off when they shouldn't be. Like, it's usually the change and the transition is the hardest part.
Mm. Do you think friendships require continual work?
Yeah. It's like anything.
How do you strengthen a relationship that you haven't given much attention to in the last couple of years?
The same way you would strengthen anything. You give it energy, you give it attention, like you said. You share parts of yourself. You exchange things. You search for the truth in each other. Like, what have you been doing? You try and figure out who they are now.
Mm.
Like, if I was going to try to reach out to someone I hadn't spoken to in a long time, I'd try and let go of everything I knew previously, especially if it had been at least a year.
You think people change that quickly?
Well, I know I have. Like, if someone knew me a year ago and I would have come, like, and we met again, it's much easier to show them who you are now if they're not holding any judgment from who you were then.
Prior assumptions.
Like, I just think it would be a lot easier for them to show me who they are if I'm not holding anything or holding them to the past version of themselves.
So you think coming to old friendships and old connections with like real openness and real just trying not to presume things before.
In pursuit of the truth. Because, like, on the surface of that, that's being curious, it's being genuine, that's being authentic. That's, if you satisfy that, like, if you are in search of the truth, everything else that people say, like everything in the book of how to win friends and influence people, you're going to do all those things naturally.
Yeah.
If you're genuinely in pursuit of the truth, the core, the source, whatever.
Yeah. And letting everything about them shine and not placing things on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. But I feel like with me, how that's happened, like it's really hard to come to a relationship that you used to have with no prior, like nothing. Like, because usually go, oh, they used to do this and they have a dog and they have this.
You don't have to forget it.
No. But like, so in the conversation, when you start having the conversation with them and you're genuinely asking them things that you're curious about and interested in, like a lot of the time I find myself going, oh, like, oh, and always being like really like pleasantly surprised. And I don't know if that's like a negative bias of just human fault and like that's what if we're always...
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah. But it's always interesting to see how the conversation goes and the connection that you feel when like all these prior kind of assumptions and like are kind of just lifted for a second if you give it the benefit of the doubt. And then you like, oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Why'd you ask that?
Why'd I ask what?
How would you reapproach a friend, or how do you choose someone?
Well, I think it's just kind of like with the move and moving back to Sydney. I haven't been here living in this space for like really a long time. But like been in Wollongong for 2 years and then on and off here, but not for like a long period of time or not for a year.
Yeah.
So this is like the biggest time in a while. So I'm just thinking about like, I want to present myself as authentically and as honestly and as truthfully as I can. But I also like find it hard to detach from the prior expectations I have of that person or the prior judgments but then I know how it looks if I come into a thing. Even if someone goes, oh, that person, this, and this, that like tells you something negative about that person, you're going to come to the relationship and to them usually going, oh, okay, that person said, watch out for this, watch out for that. That's where my mind's going.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of studies on that.
Yeah.
And then, but like the opposite, if you're told, oh, this person is so great, like you're going to love this part about them. And that's what you're looking for. That's what you're searching for in that person.
Yeah.
So I guess just like the only thing I can really do is just remind myself of those things and those biases that we have naturally. And just to say as open and as honest and as curious and as ready for anything.
Yeah.
Just being like an open space for them to show themselves.
Yeah, just be aware of what you're focusing on.
Yeah.
Like if someone brings something negative about them, like you can focus on finding out whether that's actually true or not.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to focus on that's what they told me.
Yeah. But even that I feel like comes from like a manipulated thing. Like it's so hard when someone else that you trust has told you, oh, watch out.
But everyone can be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even like if you're friends with someone very closely and there's kind of a friend triangle. There's you and this person and then there's person 3 over there that you want to rekindle with and they've told you something and you really trust them.
Yeah.
Even if you're like best friends, know everything about them.
Yeah.
Bro, you still don't know fuck all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's still so much that people don't tell.
Bro,
Yeah.
like...
Yeah.
We don't know anything about ourselves. How are we supposed to know anything about anyone else? So like...
Just keeping it.
I think it's comforting. Like, people can draw assumptions, but most of the time, like, no one has any idea.
Yeah. Totally.
And you find what you're looking for. Like, if you hear something you don't like, chances are you're going to disprove it.
Yeah.
If you hear something you like or you agree with, chances are you're going to find evidence to back it up.
Yeah.
So you just need to be focusing on being aware of what you're focusing on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And going back to like how to know if you want to be friends with them again, I think it's helpful to know what you're looking for.
Yeah. What you want around you. Like your core values, you mean? Or like the things that you're valuing the most at this particular time? Or because, you know, you don't want to like, ideally you want to make friends for life, not friends for a period. But I think people do come into your life for a season.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with either.
Yeah.
As long as it's genuine.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you might have a problem and a specific person might be able to help you. But outside of that, there might not be a lot. And that's cool. Or vice versa. You might be able to help them with something specific.
Yeah.
And really, like, could I be friends with anyone? Yes. So, like, there is a depth that you can get to with anyone. But we really only have a finite amount of time and energy.
Yeah. So it's so hard because a lot of the time you're basing whether you go deeper off such a short amount of time. Yeah.
So really it's not personal either.
Yeah.
Like it's just
what happened in the
statistically.
moment. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What they say that really resonated with you in the time just by chance.
Yeah. And it just comes down to the moment. Like who you're with at that time. It's not like I'm not friends with this person or I'm friends with this person.
But that also brings it to like, if you are wanting to make genuine connections and like, because we do base how much energy we put into a relationship off such a short amount of time, then it shows you, okay, the questions that you're asking are really important. And the things that you're asking to know.
What you're seeking is very important.
Yes. Like, am I just saying like questions that I'm not going to get anything that I actually find interesting out of this person anyway. So I'm limiting them and I'm limiting me because they're not getting to know anything of substance between us.
And you're both just wasting time.
Yeah, which I find
The
most
one
of the
thing that you have
conversations
the finite amount of.
is like that.
Yeah.
So that's something I would love to really focus on, is just like asking things that I'm genuinely so curious about and not, I don't know what to say, I'm just going to say this.
Yeah.
Or just out of like routine and ritual of like, how are you?
Well, I think one thing you kind of taught me recently is like, it'd be good to have a few, like a bank of a dozen questions that could just take you in the direction that you want to go.
True.
Like if you're meeting a stranger,
Yeah.
what's a couple questions that you can ask anyone that you are interested in and chances are the other person is too? And if not, boom, next question.
Mm-hmm.
Like most people are interested in music. Most people are interested in a book or pets or, you know, a relationship. Like things that everyone has.
Yeah. And then just having the courage to actually ask the questions that you want to know.
Yeah. And it's also okay if you don't. Like sometimes
you don't have the energy.
It doesn't
for
align.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Doesn't
whatever
feel right.
reason. And that's fine. Yeah. But just, again, awareness of what you're focusing on. Are you focusing on something that's helping you or something that's not?
Yeah. From truth to friendship. Well, just our conversation and the way that it weaved around, but then it ends up in a place where it's like truth is really at the core of a lot.
That's what I've come to realize.
Yeah. And understanding your deepest intentions behind interactions.
I don't know if you can understand it. You just have to be in pursuit of it. Like it's that thing. It's like happiness. Every time you get close to it, it sort of moves. There's always more to know. Unless you're AI and then you'll know everything. Cool. Well, let us know your answer to the questions in the comments.
Yeah.
Do you
It would
wanna
be
read
cool
it
to
again?
hear. Yeah. Let us know what you think about this. What are you clear about now that 1 year ago you didn't know? And what you think about the questions that we're talking about with friendship and interactions and truth.
Anything we missed,
Yeah.
you think? Because we're in search of truth here. That's what we're in search of.
Growth and truth. More information.
Yeah, man. Good stuff.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good week. Bye.
Peace. Peace.